Hi yogis, welcome back to another episode of RunYogi Diaries. This is your host Santosh Shiva. I hope you had a wonderful week and you also got some time to play, swim, bike, run, whatever is your thing. Every week I bring you conversations with people who are on a journey of well-being and endurance. I hope they spark some possibility in you, leave you with some tips and perhaps some inspiration to perspire. If you like this channel, consider subscribing to it, hit like if you like this video, and leave your comments below and let us know what you think. This episode is also available on all major podcast platforms if audio is your thing. In the house today is someone who is a quintessential endurance sports enthusiast. Because for one, he's an accomplished mountaineer and runner, but also a person with an eye for capturing the beauty of the great outdoors through his photography. And someone who reflects on his experiences greatly to learn and share with others. In our conversation, I found him to be endlessly knowledgeable of what he does and in a quest to discover more. We get behind the scenes on how and why of his incredible journey and hope you can take away some wisdom from it. Let's welcome the extremely erudite Arnab Banerjee. Hey Arnab, welcome to RunYogi Diaries.
Hey Santosh, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure having you. You have a fascinating resume of endurance sports and photography and mountaineer. I mean, you have a very impressive resume. So we have a lot to learn about, and we're going to dig into all of that in this conversation. But before that, let me have you do a quick personal introduction, and then we'll jump in.
Sure. Yeah, before we do that, Santosh, just couple of words. I very recently, discovered your podcast. I've been, listening to some of your old one, and I have to say, you have done a great job of, highlighting all these runners, especially
Mm,
from India, Indian American runner. I have not personally met a lot of them in Seattle,
mm.
but of course there is a good concentration of them in San Francisco Bay Area and other
Yeah,
places. So I really want to give you, my heartfelt gratitude for, exploring those people and telling those stories. They need to be told. So
thank
so
you.
great job on that one.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Uh, to go back to, my story. It's interesting because
So
I was
before you go back to your
yeah,
story, before you go back
yeah,
to the story, let's have you do introduce yourself, like where you live,
yeah,
what you
yeah,
do, and then
yeah.
we'll get into the story.
Okay, sounds good. So my name is Arnab Banerjee. As you can see from my last name, I'm a Bengali. So I grew up in Calcutta, uh, or Kolkata, as we say now. We changed the name. Of course, the English name is also Kolkata now. I grew up there, went to school, even went to college, engineering college, to JU, Jadavpur University. Um,
Mhm.
and then after I graduated back in 95, I spent some time in UK, went to Liverpool,
Mhm.
spent brief, I'll say almost a year there. Then went back to India and then came back, actually came to US in the East Coast. Lived almost 10 years in East Coast. I went to school in University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
Hmm.
Actually met my wife there when I was studying business there. We got married after she was going to law school. I was doing my business school. So we met, we got married after we both graduated from there. Then we lived in New York for almost
Hmm.
10 years.
Oh wow.
We had our first kid there. We were living just outside New York City, upstate New York in White Plains. And then back in 2011, we decided to make it a big move to West Coast.
Hmm.
I always wanted to live in the West Coast, given the mountains, given the scenery. That's like, I always had it in my mind. And then we finally got an opportunity and we took it and we moved in here, I think back in 2011. And
Hmm.
of course, I love it. My wife always say, "Oh, this is the perfect place for you."
Okay. Is she happy? is,
Yeah,
is she happy with the move?
I was worried because she had to pretty much change her life because I had a
Hmm.
job here, a job offer, but she did not. So she had to give up her job in New York City, come here, find another job, pretty much start a career. And legal career is very different
Hmm.
than where I am. I'm more of a so I started my life as a engineer, IT, software, but
Hmm.
then I pivoted to more strategy, business strategy. Now I'm in product management. So it was much easier for me to find a job and settle in. But in a legal profession, it's still, a minority person,
Yeah.
non-white person. It's a very different world. But anyway, she has settled in, and we had not our second kid here, so that was very nice. In New York, everything is so expensive, and we had little time. Like we were always
Yeah.
felt like we were always commuting back and forth. So Seattle gave us that, opportunity to expand the family a little bit, and of course, it's a great place, to raise your kids. Like both of my kids are into hiking, backpacking, skiing, and I don't think we could do that in living in New York as much as we
Yeah.
do here. So,
Nice.
so that's me in a nutshell. Busy life, busy professional life, but balancing kids, and of course all my passion, running,
Yeah.
mountaineering. We'll talk about more of that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Terrific. No,
Mm,
that's great. Thanks for the
mm.
introduction. Yeah. So we are here to talk about all the wonderful things you're doing in the area of endurance sports. And so maybe we should do a bit of a rewind and get into a bit of a flashback as to where did it all start and why.
Yeah, sure, sure. So it's kind of remarkable. Like I was actually listening so many of your podcasts recently. I'll say like last 10 days I probably listened at least 10. Like when I'm
Oh
working out,
wow.
I'm just listening. I say I want to know about these people, right? Where were they? Like, I didn't. How come I didn't know about them? So I'm listening a lot, and many of the stories I kind of start like people say, "Oh, I found running," right?
Hmm.
I was here, I was not running. Maybe some people did some in college, they did some running, but there was nothing, and they suddenly find it, and this transforms their lives. So my story is kind of a little bit different than that.
Hmm.
Uh, Given I really did not found I did not find running. Running kind of found me, and I'll tell you how.
Yeah.
So but my relationship with endurance sport is very long. Like it's almost
Hmm.
exactly 30 years ago. I just turned 48 yesterday,
Oh wow. Happy
and
birthday.
yeah, thank you. And so just yesterday, I was thinking, I'm 48 now, and everything started when I was 18. So in
Hmm.
the school, growing up, of course, in a traditional Indian family, uh, sports is not seen as a main thing to do, right? People who does sports, right? If you're not good at study, you do sports. Otherwise, you study, right?
Yeah.
So that my parents also had the similar, mentality. So I did not really get to do a lot. I used to play soccer a lot. Soccer was my
Hmm.
thing. Football. We don't. Living in
Yeah.
America now, I call it soccer, but back in India, it's football. Cricket was never my thing. It was kind of boring for me. Like uh, just standing in the field for so long, and I get to bat a little bit, and then on I'm out. I have to. So
Yeah.
I always had too much energy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
cricket never suited me. So I was always, and of course in Kolkata, it's a huge football culture, right? Mohun Bagan,
Yeah.
East Bengal is huge. And the little town I used to live in, there were at least three or four players was playing at that time in the first division league, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes they will come play with us, like in the weekend they will like come in and play with us. So they're like stars, right? They're playing in
Yeah.
Calcutta, first division league. So that was very very good, playing, bare feet, running around in mud, in a horrible surface, right? It's not
Hmm.
even nice grassy surface. So that made me, very hard hardened my attitude. Like we
Mhm.
played in 100-degree sun, in pouring rain. Didn't matter, right? We just
Yeah.
have to go play every
Play.
day.
Yeah.
But I did not. But endurance, I didn't know what about running or anything like that. But when I got into Jadavpur University, the first thing I noticed there, like we went for the education, of course, but Jadavpur is a very unique place. It has very early in the days, it has found like students want to do more than that, right? More than education. So
Mm.
it had clubs like Jadavpur University Mountaineering and Hiking Club. There's a photography club.
Wow.
There's drama club. There's art club, and this was there for like last 40, 50 years, right? There were like
Mm.
visionary people who thought about it before, and they started it. Very unique at that time. Probably things have probably changed now. So I was like intrigued, like what is this mountaineering club? What do they do, right?
Mhm.
What is mountaineering? I had no idea. So I walked in, and I was told that there is a team going out within a week to a place called Sandakphu Falut. It's up in the Himalayas for a 10 days of trekking, and I can join them. It's minimum some money, nothing. I just have to become a member and go. I did not even think twice. I said, "Yeah, I want to go. Like I've never done this thing. I want to go." I went, had a terrific time. Like I did not even know any of these people. They are all in my college. Some senior people. We spent like a week hiking through the Himalayas. This is the Kanchenjunga region. I remember one morning, it was like when we reached that spot for camping, it was all foggy, white out. You can't see anything. In the middle of the night, someone said, "Hey, you guys have to come out." And then we came out. The fog has cleared. The moon is up, and you can see the Kanchenjunga right in front of you. It's like glistening
Wow.
in the moonlight, and that that literally changed my life. I said, I want to do this. I mean, I didn't know that this existed, right?
Yeah.
I want to do this more. Uh, I had a little bit background, I won't say, because I was actually born in North Bengal. I
Mm.
spent 4 or 5 years of my life there. My father used to work in the for the government, so he used to do a lot of trips in Darjeeling, that area, and I'd been. So I had a little bit of memory, looking at Kanchenjunga from Mall of Darjeeling, in the tea garden. So he used to do that kind of work, urban development, rural development,
Mhm.
that kind of work. But anyway, so that's the initiation, and then I got hooked, and then 4 years in my engineering degree. I think I focused more on mountaineering than than on the real education. I'll not be
Well,
ashamed to say that.
or maybe you
Yeah.
actually focused on real education. I mean,
Right.
and not what is in the books, right?
Right. Yeah, because it was so fascinating, and it's also not just the nature, right? It's how you do it, right?
Mm.
At that time, we did not have any money, right? So university used to give us certain amount of fund, very little, and
Mhm.
then we had to raise fund. We had to go out to other companies, other organization, and say, "Hey, we're doing this. Give us money. We'll be our sponsor." Means that the whole process of
Yeah.
at 18, 19, 20, going out and talking to these corporates,
Yeah.
convincing them to give us money.
But
All that experience.
I guess you were learning how to pitch for a VC back then.
Exactly. So sometimes I kind of think of those days. I said, "Wow, we did not have any shame. We did not have any, no, and how passionate we were, right? To go
Yeah.
and ask people, and we did it. Like we used to raise money. We used to run one rock climbing course every year to initiate
Mm.
new people into rock climbing, and then we used to do several hikes in the Himalayas and one big expedition. So that was kind of our
Wow.
goal, like every year. And I became in my final year, I became the secretary of the club. So secretary it means the highest student person running the club. So I pretty much led the club, but we have a fantastic team. And so all those friends I met there, they're still my friends. I talk to them
Mm.
still now. Every week we will talk. We have a group. We talk. Uh, so these friendships are, it's forever, right? If you meet them, go in the mountain, and we did, expedition. We failed. Sometimes we succeeded, but that
Yep.
remains with you forever.
You
So
know what is
after that, yeah.
fascinating is
Mm,
this is so unique actually. I mean, I also grew up in the late 80s and early 90s in studying in India, and I don't think I've ever met anyone who dwelt into mountaineering the way you did in engineering college. I mean, maybe there were people in the
mm.
fringes who were doing that, but this is very unique. I mean, this is fascinating. That's really fascinating. Lucky you
I think
guys.
so too. Yeah, I think so too. I think our JU was very unique in from that standpoint. I mean, I did not know any other university-based mountaineering club. We have not met
Yeah,
anyone. Like if
yeah,
anytime we went to mountain, there are a lot of mountaineering club in Calcutta, also in
right.
Pune, Mumbai, but they're all like, they're professional. Like
Yeah.
people are working. But student-led mountaineering club, maybe there are more now, but the club still
Hmm.
exists and doing great. But it was such an amazing resource to
Yeah.
all of us. I mean, whoever who were interested in the mountaineering. And I was also part of photography club. Learned a lot of. That was also my first time I actually picked a
You
camera,
see,
like
you seem to have
SLR
gotten
camera.
good education, and none of us got that.
Yeah. Engineering education was not my,
Send
focus.
your
Yeah,
kids
it's
to
like,
developer university.
yeah,
That's what the message should be.
definitely.
So did you? You got, obviously mountaineering seems to have caught on as a central theme. You even took on leadership positions, and after you started working and your work life, did it continue to be a part of your life?
Yeah. I'll tell you the story. So when I graduated in '95, and there was a void, right? So I got a job offer with TCS. They actually, I was ready. I packed my bag. I said I have to go to somewhere, Delhi or Mumbai. I was ready to go. Right? I'm so
Yeah.
excited. I'm ready to leave Calcutta, but unfortunately they put me in Calcutta office. I said,
Oh.
oh no, I'm fine, okay. But long story short, but there was a void, right? I said, okay, I can't be associated with the university club anymore. That I loved so
Mm.
much. But I was still going there, right? But it's not my club anymore. I'm not part of JU
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
So we started a new club. So the people who just graduated, and there are a few other people who graduated maybe a few years ago. Together we started a new club. We call it Junipers. So it is a play on JU
Hmm.
junipers, and junipers is actually the tree or bush you can find in the high altitude Himalayas. It's a very unique tree. Even if it is wet, it can still burn. So people in the mountain, they will cut the juniper bush and bring it their home and burn it in the very cold so that they can stay
Oh
warm. So
wow.
junipers is always this burning, right? That
Yeah,
it
yeah.
you can't put a juniper down. Even if you put water in it, it will still burn. And it's a play on JU junipers. So we started junipers. Mountaineering club, and I was there for another 3-4 years, and we built up the club. So we said, okay,
Hmm.
we want to do one mountaineering expedition every year, right?
Mm.
And some of our ideas was a little different. I said, what should we do? Like, just going to the mountain is not enough. Can we do something different? Like, can we go to places where people don't go, right? Instead of
Mm.
doing the same thing again and again. There is also another thing we noticed. This was more, I won't say we, it was more personal probably, but I probably inspired a few others. Uh, I saw in the expedition, or most of the mountaineering expedition that are like recreational mountaineers go, they rely so much on others, the guides, right? That you hire a
Mm.
Sherpa or you hire a guide, and they are actually doing all the work, right? Fixing
Mm.
the ropes, carrying the load, and you are almost like kind of following their footsteps. And I was not so sure about it, that that's the way I want to
Mm.
do it. I wanted to lead routes. I wanted to, bring my own. So I wanted to be a like real mountaineer per
Yeah.
se, because I was reading all these Messner stories, so in our Jadapur club there was all these books, Duff Scott, Chris Bonington, all these legendary mountaineer, how they have climbed in Alpine style, uh, Tusker Boardman. I was like, I want to be like that. Of course, 20 years old, right? The burning desire is a lot more than you actually know. I said, I want to climb like that. I don't want to climb I don't want to go with a guide who will do all the things and I just follow him. So he said, why don't you do that? We don't have to do big peaks, but pick something that we can do all by ourselves and pick things that are out of the way. So that was kind of like our aspiration, ambition, and it actually caught on. Some of the senior mountaineers in Calcutta, they were our mentor. Very nice. I said, yes, you guys should do that. Yeah. And they inspired us. So that was also very nice. But it did not go very well. First 2-3 years, we failed kind of miserably, I'll say. Like once we went to climb a mountain, the planning was terrible. We failed. We climbed another smaller mountain, came back. Next time we went, I was very sick. I caught a cold. The rest of the team tried to climb the mountain. It was a big mountain, Mendoza, but did not happen. So once I came back, that was I think 97. So something happened in 98 I still remember the year 98. It was a kind of a year of turning around for me, and I'll tell you how. So I was kind of contemplating. I think a lot about these things. Like I don't take these failures very well. Like I want to convert the failures into success. And I've been thinking about like what are we doing wrong? Like there's a lot of desire, a lot of determination in us, but it is not converting into result, right? How do we do that? And then then I think the biggest inspiration often come to me, at least when I am really down. On top of that year I we went with a friend and we went rock climbing in Simlipal. It's a place in Odisha. This is famous for its tigers, but there are also like rock climbing spot around. But I caught malaria from there, malignant malaria of all things. So I spent like a week.
What is malignant malaria?
Malignant malaria is the worst type of disease, man, you can get. So it's malaria, but it goes to your brain and it can kill you. Yeah, it's really, really dangerous. So but there is a cure, but they can't give you the cure until they are 100% sure you got malignant malaria. So I was in hospital for a week. They're just running test after test after test. Finally, they were sure it's malignant malaria. They started the medication on that, and I got better. But I had to spend like almost a week in a nursing home in Calcutta, and I was very sick. I like lost maybe 10-20 pounds. But at that low moment, I said, this year is going to be big. I won't let 2018 to go west. And I actually planned the expedition lying down in the bed with a couple of my friends, reading various mountaineering journal. So I don't know how familiar you are with Nanda Devi in the Nanda Devi Sanctuary. There's a lot of stories about that. Like there was a American team went, apparently. This is all rumor, can be true. They apparently installed a nuclear-based surveillance system in Nanda Devi, which got lost. As a result, that whole area was closed for almost a decade, almost actually 2 decades. And that year, finally, Indian government just opened a part of it, not the main sanctuary, but on the fringe of this, some of the areas got open to mountaineers and hikers. And I said, this is it. We're going to go here where people have never gone. And we poured on the map and we found a glacier and the 3 unnamed peaks. I said, let's go there. It looks doable for us, looking at the terrain. And if we can do this, we'll be the first people to go into that glacier and the first people to ever climb one of those peaks. It was like totally out of the way, very very brave plan. We did not know whether we can pull it off, but we did. 3 of us went, very small team. We could not get a lot of people out. So I got out of hospital. So that's what also the running started. I said, I am so weak. I can't, I have to get to the fitness. So I ran and ran and ran with my friends and that nothing like how much I ran now.
Yeah.
That was like maybe 20, 30 miles a week, but still it got me, into the fitness that I wanted. And it was an amazing experience. Three of us, and we just one high altitude porter. We did not call them porter, to be honest. We call
Mm-hmm.
them high altitude friends. We
Mm-hmm.
very respectful. We are never. I think of them as porter. They're friends.
Mm-hmm.
But we just hired only one person, and he was also not very good. He was not like he's not like a Sherpa or climber, right? He was more
Mm-hmm.
helping us. But three of us managed to get into the glacier. It was like 2-3 weeks. We managed to go up a peak. It was not technically difficult, but there was no record, nothing. We have to figure everything out.
Right.
We climbed a peak. There was a blizzard after we climbed the peak, so we got stuck in the summit camp for 2 nights. It was scary
Wow.
because it's just snowing and snowing, and we did not know we could come out. But then on third, after 2 nights, the snow stopped, and there was like uh, snow up to our waist. We have to go through. Anyway, it came out. It was a big story. It got published in newspaper, Himalayan Journal, American Alpine Journal. So we kind of a little bit of fame, I would say. There was like
Yeah. Amazing.
interesting article on newspaper, like three Bengali young kid, pretty much, right? 20, 22 years old, went and climbed something new
So
in the
how
Himalayas.
did your family? What did your family think of this? Is obviously one is it's outside the average norm. You don't meet people. People at their early 20s or even for any age mountaineering in India. You don't meet people, you don't bump into them every day. And you're young, and the
Hmm.
risks are quite high because most of it is unknown. You read about
Right, right.
mountaineers on newspapers and you think it's out there, but when it's happening at home, what did your family think about all this? What were your parents saying to all this?
Let's just say they are not too supportive, but and let's just say we shared as little as we could do, right, about the danger of it, right? They knew our passion that we're going to do it anyway, and they knew that we are responsible. We are going to look
Mhm.
out for each other, right? We're not going
Right.
to it's not easy to kill us. that, that's all I'll say. Like, because we used to go in a group where we were responsible, though we are not taking like risks which is way out there beyond our capability. We never did that, and that was because of probably our training too. Like, I
Mm.
forgot to mention, in mountaineering club when I was there, I also went and did the mountaineering course. I went to
Mm.
Darjeeling, the Tenzing Norgay Institute, Himalayan Mountaineering Institute. It's a month-long course taught
Mm.
by all these Everester and Sherpas. They teach you everything about mountaineering, how to make decisions. So it's not like we had no
Yeah.
experience, right? So, and then we're also mentored by other senior mountaineers in Calcutta. But anyway, we're not also super experienced, right? So, but this is the way
Mhm.
you learn. If you do it,
Yeah.
then only you learn, right? And we're taking a baby step. So this was a big step. Um, Doing this, we actually named the glacier Garur Glacier because the local people tell us, oh, there's a mountain which looks like Garura, that mythical creature uh, in Raman, like the bird,
Garuda.
Garura. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So they said there the peak looks like a bird. That's why they called it Garura. So we named the glacier Garura Glacier, and
Nice.
that peak we climbed, we named it Garura Dome. The peak next to is Garura Parbat. We climbed one of them. There are three
Yeah. Yeah.
peaks, and that report was published in Himalayan Journal, American Alpine Journal. There are many people actually gone after us, so we kind
Wow.
of pioneered that area.
You're pioneers. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was fantastic. Like that, this is like at that time I thought, I'm living my life. I'm living a dream. I wanted to be that this is exactly I want to do, right? And
And
I
and
even
and you
considered.
and you and you had a day job too, right? You're an IT pro at this point in time. You're
I'm
working
working
for
for
an IT
TCS, working
company.
for
Yeah.
TCS,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty much famous at that time in my company. Like, I came back and I used to do slideshows. People are saying, "Wow!"
Nice.
and I'm thinking, should I just do this? Should I just leave my job and become it? It has not actually. I thought about it long and hard, but I could not justify it. At that time in India, how do you make money? How do you,
Yeah.
there is no sponsorship, nothing. And I talked to some of the people, senior mountaineers, they said, don't do it, because
Mhm.
there was no professional mountaineer at that time in India that I knew, right?
Yeah.
Everyone worked and did the mountaineering on the side. So I said, okay, I'm not going to do that. It only happens in America. It only happens in Europe. The professional
Yeah.
listeners of listeners and Boningtons of the
And
world.
I find that mountaineering is an expensive sport, and it's an expensive pursuit, not a sport, but a pursuit. Like I had a mountaineer on my. I had a couple of. I've had a couple of mountaineers on my show. Both of them who've submitted Mount Everest, and I also had another Saurabh who's also kind of a recreational mountaineer. But among the professional or people who do this as a for a living, a lot of dependence on fund, creating funds, right? Generating funds from outside, because your Mount Everest campaign
Yeah,
can go up to
yeah.
$100,000. That's a lot of money, right?
Everest is a different league, right? It has
Yeah.
become such a commercial part, but
Yeah.
rest of the
Yeah.
Himalayas, you can still go climb a mountain. It's not actually super expensive. And if you're
Okay.
doing in the style that we are doing, like we do
Hmm.
not depend on the Sherpas or
Yeah.
porters or a lot of equipments, lot big party. Now we're going in shoestring budget, right?
Hmm.
Pretty much Alpine style, right? So it was not that expensive, to be honest.
So when you
And
say Alpine style, like when you say Alpine style, it's basically minimalist, you're
that's
doing it
right.
yourself kind of a thing, correct? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. We are carrying our stuff. There is no Sherpa, no porter carrying our
Hmm.
stuff beyond base camp. We are doing the ferries. And
Yeah.
pure Alpine style is you just go, like 2% just go, right? They carry their
Hmm.
own stuff and they just go, summit and come back. So fast and light. That's pure Alpine style. That's why I'm calling it semi-Alpine style, where
Yeah.
we did not do that. We did not have that kind of caliber, but we are still, acclimatizing it. But it's all very light and fast
Hmm.
style, right? We bought some equipment. At that time, I already made a trip to UK, so I lived in UK 9 months. Went back, brought a lot of equipments with me. Pretty much all my savings, I bought tent and sleeping bag and ice axe and all that
Yeah.
for everyone else too. So after that, so that was remarkable, and I wanted to do more. Right, once you get that, the test of adventure. Uh, but then I got a good offer to come to US. That same year, '98 December, I actually came to Boston. Moved to Boston, but it was good because some of my friends were already here. Some of my
Hmm.
mountaineering club friends, they were already here. And we said, okay, I'm not near Himalayas, but there is nothing, nothing preventing us to, just keep doing it. And pretty much every weekend, winter weekend, we are in Vermont and New Hampshire climbing ice.
Hmm.
And it was fascinating. I was so happy, like, because in India, you don't get to ice climb. In Kolkata, you're walking in 90-degree, 100-degree weather all the time. Like, where is ice? Unless you go to Himalayas. Here, you drive few hours and there's huge, these waterfalls have frozen in the winter and
Yeah.
you climb them, right? Uh, so we started climbing. We started skiing. So skiing was a new thing. Like I never thought I would be a skier. I had no idea what that is. So learning that, we started taking lessons, getting better.
Yeah.
So every weekend we are, and of course I was not married, no kids, so we had nothing else. But we did not waste our time. We were just there, right? We were skiing, climbing, ice climbing, and in summer I'm hiking, backpacking, and so something happened at that time. So then we decided it was. I'm saying it's like friends, like we're just going together, right? So a couple of guys decided they want to go back to school. They want to do a business degree. I said, I'll do that too. I'm kind of bored writing codes. I don't think I want to write codes all my life. What is this business degree all about? Anyway, so I applied and I got accepted in University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and
Uh-huh.
that was in 2001 fall I was supposed to go. I said, this is good. I can now leave my job and go back to Himalaya for 3 months. And so I called up some of my friends. I said, hey, you guys want to do another expedition? And I found at least another four people. They said, yeah, let's do it. And this time we went even big. We picked a peak called Manda 2, which is in Gangotri, Garhwal Himalayas.
Mm.
I don't know if you've ever been to Gangotri or Gomukh,
No.
that area.
No.
It's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful and spectacular part of the Himalayas with legendary peaks, all around Shivling and Kedarnath and Bhagirathi, Satapant. It's fascinating. But Manda 2 is like kind of stands alone on this side. It was only climbed a couple of times, and nobody has climbed from this side, the west side that we're planning to do. Nobody has climbed. So if we do that, it will be the first people to make a fast ascent on this side. Not just Indian, it will be fast ascent, and it will be overall, I think, third ascent of the peak. It's just next to Meru, actually. A lot of your listener probably have seen the Jimmy Chin movie Meru. So Meru and Manda is kind of next to each other. It was felt like way beyond our league, but I said, oh, I'm going back to business school, no expedition for 2 years at least. So let's go big. And if we fail, who cares, right? So we went there for a month. It was fascinating. And again, I'll go back to the running. So I'm kind of linking my running with this. So I was living in Boston at that time. This was so big of an undertaking. I knew it. I had enough experience to understand that this is going to be way out of my league. And I knew that of 5 people, I am going to be the strongest from physical fitness as well as from experience. So I need to lead. I need to lead the climbing. So how do I get to the best shape of my life? So I found a gym near where I was working, went there, and the gym owner, it's a very small, local gym, and this guy was like really powerful, strong guy. And I told him, hey, can you train me? Like, this is train for what? So I explained to him. I said, that's you need a lot of training. I said, can you help me? Well, yeah, I can help you. So he wrote me a training plan. I never knew there's a plan of training, right? He said, you have to run at least 3 days a week, run at least an hour. And in the weekend, you run at least, a long run, right? I didn't know all these terms at the time, but run at least for 90 minutes or 2 hours. Go slow, no worry. And then 3 days a week, you're going to come here. I'm going to train you for 45 minutes. And he trained me this kind of circuit training, like, doing different kind of weight. It's kind of like CrossFit at that time. They did not call it CrossFit. So I did that for whatever he said, right? I did it for like 4 or 5 months, and it just felt so good. Every month I feel like I'm making, so much progress fitness wise. And then when I went to Himalayas, it was so good. Like so it takes few days to get acclimatized, right? When you go to the altitude. But then I realized that I am moving faster than the porters or the high altitude friends that we actually hired to help us. And this was such a technical peak. We had to fix almost 2,000 feet of rope on very technical terrain. And I led pretty much every single feat of that climb, which was very satisfying to me. Like, because I practiced that in New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, but take that skill and apply it in high altitude of Himalayas is a completely different ball game. But I felt like I could do that because physically I prepared myself, right? I was able to acclimatize. I was feeling like I'm in Vermont, right? When I'm in 16,000, 18,000 foot, it did not feel different because I got acclimatized so well. And it was like 3 camps. It's a long expedition, 3 camps, and we broken into 2 teams. I was in the front team. Then the back team is coming, like just lag, because we have to plan it that way so that we don't deplete all the food.
Mm-hmm.
Then on the summit day, again, there was another 1,000-foot climb. I led that to the call and we climbed, came back, and the back team, the second team just reached that day,
Mm.
right? And we were like, of course, like we never thought that we'll be able to make to the summit. But I was not saying I want the whole team to go up, right? So when I came down, those three guys, two guys and one girl actually. So I wanted them to go up too, right? But these two, two Sherpas, the high altitude friend, they didn't want to go back next day. They were tired, right?
Mm.
So I said, and I can't let them go by themselves, though there was rope fixed. So we came back. I'm tired, just drinking some, tea, and these two other guys saying, "Sab, summit ho gaya." Means he's saying,
Uh-huh.
"Sir, you guys already submitted. Why go back?" I said, "No, I want my friends to go up, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "We are tired. We can't go." I said, "Okay, fine. I'll go." And that, like, those guys said, "Okay, so this guy is not going to give up." They said, "Okay, okay, Sab, up, bet here. We'll go." So I said, "Okay, great, but I'll still come to support you. I'll go halfway to support you." So next morning, the team went early in the morning. I still woke up, and they went. I said, "Okay, I'll come up later in the day if something happens, like the weather moves." So I was ready all day, but everything went well. So the second team also summited, and everything went well afterwards. So that was also a big deal in the mountaineering
Mm-hmm.
world. We sent out uh, the reports, got published again. American Alpine Journal published it. Himalayan Journal, the biggest Himalaya publication of India, they published it. It was been talked about all over in the mountaineering world that this is a new route found by
Wow.
some new young young mountaineers. So that was, I'll say, I still consider that my biggest mountaineering success.
Yeah.
That was back in 2001. But then after that, there's a big lull, right? Big void,
So
I'll say.
on
Mm,
this
mm.
particular summit, how high was the summit?
This was 6,554 or some, so 22,000, above 22,000 feet. It's pretty serious,
Wow.
yeah. It's pretty serious. It's so Rainier, for example, here is 14 and a half. Everest
Mm.
is almost 29. It's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
So did you?
22,500 feet. Yeah. Go ahead.
So a couple of mountaineers that I've talked to have create these missions of doing what they're like eight or nine peaks
Seven
of
summits?
20,000 feet. Yeah. So did that bug bite you, or you are kind of the
No.
let me pave my
Um.
own new paths in,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not in lists. I'm not in list. I'm
I'm
not
not
a
in
seven
this.
summit. I'm not a
Yeah.
seven summit guy. No. I that does not inspire me. I even don't even
Hmm.
want to go to Everest. But I will go to Everest
Got
if
it.
you say, oh, "Hey, Arnav, here is a check. Here is a ticket. Go
Yeah.
to." Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
who'd say
Yeah.
no to Everest? But
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
what I dream of. I dream of climbing mountains that nobody has climbed.
Hmm.
I dream of climbing routes that nobody has opened yet. I mean,
Yeah. That's more
that's kind of
hardcore.
I don't know about that, but that's what inspires me. It's not if the mountain is climbed, a route is climbed 100 times. I
Yeah.
don't see the reason for going there like again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I may go there for experience, but I'm not
Yeah.
doing anything new, right? It has been
Got it. Got it.
done million
Yeah.
times. So yeah, so I still want to climb. I want to climb 8,000-meter peaks. So that's
Hmm.
still remain a dream for me. We can talk about that more. I have not been able to go climb there are only 14 8,000-meter peaks in the world. Of course, Everest
Hmm.
is one, Everest K2. Uh, I want to climb at least one, if not more. I want to climb some more technical peaks as well,
Hmm.
which again I'll tell you the story why I have not done that. So after that, that was back in 2001.
Yeah.
Went to business school. I was telling you I met my wife. Then we started a family. got busy in career.
Yeah.
So everything else kind of took a backseat at that time. And I picked up photography more at that time. I said, what can I do, right?
Hmm.
I can still hike. I can take my photo, do some photography. I even got a book deal from a publisher to do a book on photography. And I spent almost a year and a half. The book never got published, unfortunately. So the book was about 50 most photogenic places to shoot in around New York City. So by New York City, you think of the city, right? But there is so many remote areas around. If you just draw like 100-mile radius around New York City, there's a lot of interesting state parks and
Hmm.
remote areas that nobody talks about. So that was my idea. Like I want to I want to tell people about all these
Yeah.
little known places. And I had another guy who is like photographer and publisher. He did a similar book on Washington, D.C., and we talked about it and said, why don't you do the book on New York?
Hmm.
So then I started working on the book. I was going to all these places, shooting in the weekend. I could do all of that because I just doing in the weekends, right? It was
Right.
not nothing big, right? I'm not going to Himalayas or anything like that. So that was good in New York. I was doing a little bit of skiing as well in Catskill, but life was taking a front seat, like with little
Mm.
kid, focused on career. So I did not do. I did go to Peru twice during that time when I was for a week. I went there to backpacking, and I was always fascinated by Peru. Like I wanted to see the ancient Mayan civilization. Also, Peru has the highest concentration of high peaks outside Himalayas. Highest
Okay.
concentration of 6,000-meter plus peaks. So I went there like a couple of times. Did not do any climbing, but mostly backpacking and camping, etc. But then everything again changed when I moved to Seattle in
So, in terms of
2011.
timelines, what
Mhm.
are we talking about? If we, so the last before you went into your business school, it was what,
2001.
2001, 2001.
2001 was the Manda expedition,
Okay, and
and
then fast
then
forward now you're talking Seattle. What year are we in now?
2011. So 10 years from. So 10 years,
2011. Okay,
yeah,
for 10 years you went into a hibernation.
almost. But
Wow.
as I said, it was not pure hibernation. I
Yeah,
was
it was.
working on that book. I was hiking, but yeah, I gained a few pounds. I lost my
Yeah.
rock climbing strength a lot. I was a little unfit. I won't lie. Like when I came to Seattle, that's what I realized how unfit I became, because as soon as I came
Mm.
to Seattle, I said, Rainier, I have to go climb that thing. I have not climbed that for a long time. But as we came to Seattle, like, if you live in Seattle, you see these mountains every day, right? You see
Mm.
Baker towards north, Rainier rising towards south, you see Cascades towards the east, you see Olympic towards the west. It's a fascinating, amazing area for a mountaineer. And there's so many mountaineers live here, like enthusiasts live
Mm.
here, all the mountaineers, the famous mountaineers, the organization. Like I remember in my club, the other club, there was a like book on called The Freedom of the Hills. Is the most authoritative book on mountaineering technique. There's
Mm.
knots, there's how to climb, and that was written by this organization, the Mountaineers. There are like so many guiding agency in Seattle that does Everest. So it's kind of like a little, I'll say,
Yeah.
shamini of US.
Yeah.
So I'm so inspired here. But every time I go to the mountain, I am saying I don't have the fitness anymore, right?
Mm.
And I'm struggling, and I see these people who are running on the trail, and who are these guys? Like, I never seen in New York. I never seen trail runners. Here I'm seeing people are running on that. Are these guys crazy? Why do you want to
Mm.
run on the trails? Right? But then also when I'm trying to climb this mountain, I see people like extremely fit people coming way behind me, crossing me, going
Mm.
away. And even if I reach the summit, they're coming down. I said, who are these people? Like, how come
Uh-huh.
they be so fit? So that kind of reignited that fire in me, saying that no, I don't want to get old. I don't want to, be that unfit guy trying to climb the mountains. I want to get back get back
Yeah.
on the horse, right? I want to work on my fitness. So that's when I started doing it, running again, 30,
Mm.
40 miles a week, doing some, but again, you have to just making sure you understand, anybody listening to this running was not for running. This running
Yeah.
was for mountaineering, right? It's very
Yeah. Yeah.
different. Like
Yeah.
I never wanted to be a runner.
Yeah.
I have not found running yet. Like
Yeah.
it's like my passion was mountaineering. And then again, something happened was okay. So 2018, at that time, I thought, that summer is going to be a summer, right? When I want to do at least 3 or 4 big technical climb, and I wanted to train for that. And I asked my friend, "Hey, what you guys are doing?" He said, "Oh, we're running in. We have Tiger Mountain. There's like a low altitude hills where you can climb, where you can run through the winter. It doesn't there's snow." You guys can come and join us. So I started running with them. It's the first time I'm doing trail running. They say, "Oh, just buy that Solomon shoe." I said, "Okay, that's interesting." So you don't run in running shoes. Okay, there is trail running shoe. Okay. And then they told me, "Hey, you want to come with us? We have signed up for this 50-miler race called Badger Mountains Challenge in Eastern Washington in March." I said, "What is that? What do you do there?" "Oh, you just run. You just run for 50 miles. And how long will it take?" Uh, they give you 16 hours to climb to do it. I said, "I can do that." Means when I'm
Mm-hmm.
climbing, often I'm going all day, like 16 hours, 18 hours. I said, I'll be slow, but I can do it."
Mm-hmm.
So I signed up for it. Like I didn't really train anything differently. I just uh, still training for my summer climbs. I
Mm-hmm.
ran and then I went there with two of my friends, Amit and Dhawal, very good friends. They're still my training buddy. I ran in that race. That was my first ultra. So this is also remarkable, probably to some of you later. So I did not do a 5K. I did not do a 10K.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not do a
Yeah.
half
Yeah.
marathon. I did not do a full marathon.
Good.
My first race was a 50-mile ultra with almost 9,000 feet elevation. It's hard. I ran 40 miles easily. I did not feel anything. Around mile 35, I rolled my ankle while running downhill. My skill was not very good, right? Because I'm not a really trail runner at that point. So I came to mile 40 and said, "My ankle is hurting. I don't want to ruin my summer
Mm-hmm.
of climbing. I'm quitting." So I quit, and I thought my ankle was hurting very well. So that was a learning, right? Later I realized there was nothing wrong with mine. The next day my ankle was okay. It was that
Mm.
central governor's theory, right? My brain was shutting me down, like trying to preserve me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was an amazing thing. I said, really? So this can actually happen. I read about it, but when it happened to you, you understand
Yeah.
uh, these things, like how your brain controls your body, and when you have the upper hand on your brain, you can do a lot more, right, than
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
think you're capable of. So that was amazing for me to kind of. I said, and I literally fell in love with ultra running for that. I said, okay, it
Mm.
really can push someone to a level where you can know more about yourself, and that's
Yeah.
gold, right? That's you can't do that for any other sports. Mountaineering, yes, mountaineering you do that, but mountaineering is also comes with the risk, right? Because you're pushing
Mm.
yourself in this alpine technical terrain, and if you're making mistakes, if you're pushing too hard, you're going to die. And that's exactly
Mm.
happened that summer. I was climbing in Mount Baker, North Ridge, with a friend. I was more experienced of us, between two of us, and we were coming down like 1,000 feet drop, snow, snow slope, ice snow. Late in the day, it was July 4th weekend actually. Little warm, muggy, and I made a mistake. I should have. So we were roped up, uh, but I made the call saying that this is a slope. I think we can just walk down without me belaying him and he belaying me. That's the way you generally come down when you're coming down steep slopes. it was the right decision for myself because I was more experienced. I was completely comfortable on that. But this again is totally I take it on myself because I did not. I thought he will be comfortable too, which I should not have, right? And he was shy to tell me. Like he didn't say, okay, I don't want to tell Arnab that I am scared. And um, around 200 feet as we were coming down, he fell. Even at that point, I said, that's fine. I'll just arrest him. I have done that many times. So I arrested the fall, but because the snow was soft, it ripped us off. And once you go, right? So I remember that 10 or 15 seconds of fall, like falling, two of us falling. He's on the side, I'm here. We're still tied with a rope. All my childhood memories is flashing through my mind. It's just that 10-second, it was probably not even 10 seconds, but it felt like for eternity, like I'm falling. And I thought, this is it, right? This is how I'm going to die. Like I know where I was. That is a steep slope going forever. It ends in a glacier which is full of crevasse. We'll fall thousands of feet. We'll be, broken going into crevasse. So that's what I was thinking. Like then suddenly, lucky for us, the rope got caught in a big rock which is sticking out from the slope, and it thrashed me on a on a rocky bed. Immediately I realized that I had broken like several bones in my body. I was it just took the air out of me. I was senseless, I think, for a couple of minutes. When I came back to senses, I saw my friend. He fortunately was on the snow, so he was not hurt. He was shaken off, but he was not seriously hurt. I was in a critical condition. I broke many of my ribs. I looked at my arm. Arm was in like literally in two pieces. I realized something wrong with my shoulder. So I realized I can't walk out of this place, right? But I'm alive, right? So I was thinking, oh, I thought I'm going to die, but I'm alive. And so he had that SOS device. My friend has the SOS device. So we called SOS. We waited. After around an hour, the helicopter came. The army helicopter came. It was like a 2 hours long rescue process. They lift us up. Yeah. Flew me to Harborview in Seattle. I was just mad. I was mad at myself. Why I did this, right? Why did I make such a bad call? And he could have died. My friend could have died. I could have survived. Then it's same outcome. Like I will not be able to, excuse myself for the rest of my life. So I was very mad at myself, right, for doing that. And then my wife and kids came. I could not even look at them. I said, what have I done? Like, and they had full faith in me, right? They said, oh, he's so experienced. He's not going to do anything stupid. And I have done that. So it was a very low moment for me. Anyway, so I spent almost a week in the trauma center, multiple operation to fix my hand and also my back. The scapula bone was broken. So that was like a life changing transformation for me, and it gave me a new lens. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
It's just listening to you. First of all, I'm not a mountaineer, and for a lot of folks who are listening to this who are not mountaineers necessarily, but we only know from what what you say and what you read and what you hear. I could almost be there with you when you're describing, that fall and that experience, and I'm glad you're fine. I know you just celebrate your 48th birthday, so really glad you're fine. And one reads about, for example, and this is not to scare away people who are out to continue mountaineering, but for example, I had this mountaineer friend who was on my podcast, and he said when he summited Mount Everest, he bumped into a dead body, you know. And it seems like it seems like something that's kind of embraced a little bit more easily in the mountaineering world, that you are playing on the edge with life and death. And I guess that's what gives a lot of mountaineers that high, or that inspiration.
Mhm.
But it's very alien to a lot of people who are not from that world. And yeah, I just thought I'll call that out, because certainly, you've had your highs in mountaineering, but that was pretty close. And we're glad that you're fine.
It was a very close call, but it also gives you that unique perspective, right? I tell my
Mm,
friends, like, my whole thought process has changed from that
mm,
point on, right? Um, so I realized that, I need to tone it down in terms of risk at this point of
mhm,
time. But so what else can I do? But
mm.
remember, I've already found ultra running, little the
Yeah.
taste of ultra running. I ran 40 miles. So again, from the lowest, as I was saying before, um, in, throughout my life, my lowest point gave me the biggest inspiration.
Yeah.
So in that, lying in the hospital bed, I said, okay, I'm going to stop taking this big alpine climbing risk, but I'm going to run. I'm going to run 50
Mm,
miles. I'm going to run 100 miles. I'm going to run, whatever I can do. Uh, so yeah, so I came home from that, and that was in July. It happened in 4th of July. By September, I am walking on my treadmill with my sleeves. I
mhm.
said, I want to get back. I don't want to, I don't want to disappear, right?
Yeah.
And I signed up for the Badger Mountain 50 miler next year, and I trained for it. I
That's
trained I trained hard for it. I said, this is going to be my savior, right?
mm,
This is going to pick me up from my lowest point of my, that was definitely the lowest point of my life, sitting in that
mm,
hospital bed with with a broken body. I felt like everything has been broken. It was so much
yeah.
pain. And running saved me. So running found me. That's why I say running found me,
Yeah.
running saved
Yeah.
me. So from then point on, I decided that, if I'm doing the endurance sport, um, I'll rather over prepare
Mm,
than doing anything else. And I'm going to work on my mind. So that's another
mhm.
learning, right? Now I doing ultra running, like, but I spend a lot. I can talk about that. Like I think about, how do you train your mind, right? Most
Mhm.
of us, like, we're just going for long runs and other things.
Yeah.
But often I will make it harder on me. Like I'll go out, run in the night. I
Mm,
will During the day even, I will look at the weather and say, okay, there is a storm coming. It will be raining from 4 to 6. I say, okay, I want to run in the storm, right? So I
mm.
try to do things like that
Yep.
to really train. I think it's important for any ultra runner, anyone who wants to be out there for a long time, to kind of put yourself in difficult condition where you can, when you can, like
Yeah.
safely, and that hardens your mind, and that can be, such a uh, big asset when you are actually
Yep.
thrown in a condition like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Have you read this book called Endure? Have you heard of that book?
yeah, I read it.
Endure.
Alex Hutchinson. Yeah.
Alex, yeah. And I
Mhm,
think, he in that book alludes through research to some of these points, right? And I just reread that book just a few days
mhm,
back, and just to kind of maybe echo what you're saying. And that book kind of brings to a similar conclusion on, perceived rate of exertion or effort
mhm,
as
mhm,
a access to training, because no science, no data is precisely able to say exactly what causes a person to thrive in sport or any kind of endurance, or even for that matter, 100 meter, maybe not 100 meter, but at least a longer distance running, right? And it comes down to what you're just saying, which is to throw yourself more and more into those uncomfortable positions safely during training, so your brain is less threatened to let you do what what you have to do on the day of the event, right? You're also, someone who started running just 3-4 years ago, and you have, you've done a couple of 100 milers, and you've also done a 128 half marathon, uh, which is fast, right? I mean, but from a recreational running perspective, that's fast. So obviously what you're saying is not just
Mm.
plain theory. It seems like you are putting that to practice, right? Like going fast and going far. You seem to be doing both right in some way. um, so let's spend some time on that. So let's, if you can kind of distill maybe the top three, principles you think
Mhm.
that as a runner who's interested in going fast and far.
Ultimately, it's very simple, right? So this is the famous coach. I think it's Arthur Lydiard's quote, who's like a pioneer of running theories. I think he said, run a lot. Means he distilled down his whole philosophy in one line. Run a lot, mostly slow, some fast, and you will be okay. Now, what does that devote? It's a very deep statement, right? What does really it means that you need to run a lot at easy pace, right? We call it
Mm,
long, slow distance. Because why? Because that creates your base, right? It
yeah,
creates your aerobic base. Without a base, nothing, you can't build anything on top of it. It just collapses. That's how people get injured. That's why. So it happens to new runners a lot, right? They get excited about running. Say, oh, I have run 5K. I want to run 10K. Oh, I don't know, half marathon. And I call up some of my friends. Oh, they're running 40 miles per week. I can do that too, right? These are all like, that's what I'm saying. Don't seek out information, seek out wisdom. Like if you actually ask a experienced runner, they will tell you, don't go from 20 miles a week to 40 miles a week. Don't. You have to increase it 10%, 10%, take a
yeah,
step back. So these are all proven theories. They are not readily available to read because
yeah,
you get these nuggets like, oh, 40 miles, 50 miles. Oh, that guy ran 50 miles a week. I need to do
yeah.
that too. Take a step back, look at the science, look at the theories that have been already developed and put into practice. So that whole wisdom, right? Run a lot. More you run, there's you don't, if you want to be runner, run.
Yeah.
You don't have to do strength training initially. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to play cricket. You don't have to do cross training, anything like that. When you're starting, just run a lot, little bit
Mhm.
progress. If you're a
Yeah.
20-mile a week, go to 22, 23, stay there for a few weeks, 25, 28, slowly progress. And then when you build the base, then time to bring on the speed,
Mm.
right? And there are really two types of speed. One is, again, I can't go to all the theory. Maybe we can do another podcast on that. So this concept of lactate threshold, like as you
Mm.
run faster and faster, your body producing lactate, and your body is also clearing out the lactate. But if you reach that critical speed, you go beyond that, you're producing more lactate than your body can clear it up. At that point, the
Yeah.
fatigue sets in. So running at that near the lactate threshold speed, which is we call tempo speed, is a maximum speed you can run a 10K for an hour, right? 10K slash an hour. So that's your kind of lactate threshold speed. It's very tiring if you want to go out. So you're really racing. So you
Mm.
don't want. So this is another wisdom, right? You don't want to go do that 1 hour straight. Break it up. Like do first day, just do like 2 10 minutes, or maybe just 1 10 minutes when you're
Mm.
starting. Then you increase it. Try to do it like 2 20 minutes with 5 minutes recovery. So you are running at that speed, but for a small amount of time, right? So
Mm.
you again, this is like going back to Gladwell, 10,000 hours of practice.
Yeah.
If you can do
Yeah.
10,000 hours of that in your training, then when you go actually run it, your body already know, and adaptation is happening. And there is another speed, which is your top speed, which is VO2 max
Mm.
speed, which is your maximum speed you can endure when you are running shorter intervals like 400 meter, 800 meter. So I have seen a lot of my ultra running friends, they kind of say, oh, I'm not going to go run on a track.
Mm.
But look at me, like I'm a mountaineer. I never wanted to be a runner, right? But as I found running, I I'm a student. Like I
Mm.
want to learn from other runners, these tracksters and people running marathoner. I have no ego. So I said, okay. When I first heard about this track intervals, I said, will it help me? Can I even do that? I want to try it. And once I tried for a month, so this is my actually first marathon that I ran in 2019 after Badger. I actually signed up for a marathon, and like 1.5 months before the marathon, I was doing tempo runs and intervals. And when I went to the marathon, I did not know how good I can run. So I started with on a fast marathon, your goal is really finishing. My goal was not finishing. I said, I know I can run 20 because I had run a 50 miler. So I know I can
Yeah.
finish it. I want to do well. So I started with the 4 mile pacers, right? There are pacers. I said,
Hmm.
after a mile, it felt too easy. So I went to 350, felt too easy, 340, 330. I ended up with a 326 time, right? And I was not tired. And people were saying, wow, you have run 326 in your I was 6 minutes away from BQ. My age group BQ is 320. And people go, oh, you can qualify for Boston. But I was sitting there, I said, I'm not tired. I did my
Mm.
first marathon. I want to break three. That
Mm.
was my first thinking. It was again, I'm that kind of person. Like I just take big goals. So this year actually I've run a 306 in September. I
Wow.
ran it's not on my blog yet. I have not written about it.
Where was
So
this?
I in here in Washington. It's called Tunnel
Oh.
Marathon. So actually during that Tunnel Marathon, I also ran my half marathon PR, which is 128.
So you qualified for Boston then, right?
I've qualified for. So for my age group, it's 320, and my time is 306. So yeah, I'm
So you're
I'm I'm
well
pretty sure
within.
I'm going in. Yeah, and this year actually there is no cutoff in Boston. I don't know
Hmm.
whether you have heard
I
of it.
read that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So so yes, so
So
it's
congratulations
actually.
on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yeah. I'm
That's quite
I'm actually
amazing.
very very very. Uh, I, almost I'm a little bit proud of me for doing that than running 100 miles. You know why? Because trail running comes more naturally to me because I came from
Mm.
mountaineering.
Mount.
So like all these aspects of ultra running that people are first time ultra runner, daunting for them, like running through the night.
Mm.
There's wild animals. I'm going to get lost. None of that bothers me because I have been in the mountain for a long time. But this running fast, this is not. I never
Yeah.
done it. Means all my life I have run, but always running like 10 minutes mile, right? So can I run a 7 minute mile for 26 miles? I never thought it was possible. But as going back to the principle, right? When I was applying those, like I'm running interval, running tempo, just 1.5 months, my speed came down from that, 9.5 to 7, right? So
Wow.
to 8, sorry, 9.5 to 8. So first marathon I ran around 7:53 miles. And I was sitting there and saying, wow, if 1.5 months of focus training can do this,
Yeah.
what can I do with like a full year, full cycle, couple of cycle, 3 cycle, 4 cycle? And then of course I was not able to run because all the pandemic came. There was no
Mm.
marathon in 2020. Again, I got a chance this year. And I wanted to break three actually. I thought I could break three this year, but I still not there. So I went for three, breaking three. I ended up 306. So, but still, it's a 20 minutes
Yeah.
improvement than what I did before. But that remained my goal. I want to keep working on that. And I find this actually more harder than my 50-mile run or 100-mile run. It's such a kind of different type of training. But I'll also say I think it makes me a better runner. When
Yeah.
I go for a 100-mile run, I'm more confident that because I have better running economy,
Yeah.
I have more efficiency and more confidence. And when I find a flat or downhill, I just let myself go. I don't have to hold
Yeah.
myself back.
And
So
the
yeah.
other thing, Arnab, is
Mm,
just calling out another critical point that you're sharing is that your base of endurance is so strong, right? Being a mountaineer, being a mountaineering is seriously an endurance sport, endurance activity, right? And you've been doing this for like 30 years, and maybe yes, you
yes.
took a 10-year break, but there is something called muscle memory, right? And so you have such a strong endurance base, and then you've done these ultra runs, which are the 50 milers and the 100 milers, so your endurance base definitely has continued to be in place. So I think for even the half marathon and the marathon running, the road running scene, what I have definitely seen is that endurance base hugely makes a difference in terms of your perceived effort, right? Coming back to that, what we were talking about, perceived effort, it's all about, if you felt, if you in your training have felt, gone through a space of certain, pain cave, and you've simulated it and you've handled it, I think your body, your brain, everything together gets ready for higher levels of performance. So in your case, that seems to be the case anyway, clearly, right? So
I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. So that's why anyone who wants to do, like, there are some of my friends now, they're inspired, right? Looking
mm,
at me, they want to do it. So I tell them, like, hey, you have an advantage. You're a mountaineer. You
yeah,
have been climbing a mountain. You have a, but still you have to take it easy, right? You have to build
yeah,
it up.
yeah,
Running
yeah,
is way more harder on your body
yeah,
than mountaineering, right?
that's true,
Mountaineering
yeah.
is there's more risk,
Mm,
but it's easier on your body. You go 7-8 hours a day. You acclimatize before you actually ramp up, do that summit push. Your body is you're slowly getting into that mode. Running, on the other hand, you just can't go and rest.
yeah, yeah,
You have to train for it, and the
yeah,
training is actually more important than racing. That's why I personally love training.
yeah,
Racing is, it's kind of secondary to me. Like, just getting to the point that when I feel like my body is ready for the race. I like the journey, right?
yeah,
Every day grinding it out. I have a plan. Okay, what I want to do this week.
yeah,
I have what my A race, what are my B races, how I'm using my B races to, get ready for that whole planning, that, visualizing it. Like when I ran 200 milers this year, everything came in place. Like I wanted to run in 24 hours. That again, being me, right? My first 100 milers, I wanted to finish in 24 hours. And I was on track until so first 50 miles I finished in 10 hours. I'm like just going for it, right? And the race director was laughing, like, when I said, he said, "This is your first 100 milers?" I said, "Yes." "And you were trying 24 hours?" I said, "Yes." "Well, yeah, you could do it. 10 hours. You took only 10 hours." And then wheels fell off. I don't know whether you have read the blog post. In the middle of the night, I just got overconfident. I did not carry my jacket with me on the highest part of the course. I got too cold, almost in hypothermic condition. And then in the aid station, they had to like put me on the chair, put blanket on me, give me coffee. So I had to lose like 2-3 hours there trying to, get back warm. So it took me 28 hours instead of 24 hours. But but I felt like I could do it in 24 hours.
mm,
And why I felt that way? Because I structured my training that way. Like
mm,
I talked to so many people. I researched so much, right? I looked at other people, what other entrepreneurs are doing. So when I went there, I felt like I could do it. Though it was my first one, I still felt I could do it. And I'll continue to push. Like that's what who I am. I just
yeah.
I just like to take big goals and go for it.
And I want to call out
Yeah.
again to what you're
Mm,
saying from the book Endure,
mm,
and it's so fresh in my mind. I seem
mm.
to be connecting to a lot of what you're saying. Belief.
Yeah.
The book finally concludes, almost is
Mm,
conclusive, that the thing that differentiates people of different capability comes down to self belief, and belief of a certain kind, right? Belief not like some off the cuff belief that I'll go to the moon, and not like that, but like belief based on some direct experience. So,
Right. Mm.
like when you go out and train hard, right? And in your, like what you're just saying, which completely resonates with me, which is, trusting the process, going out and training hard, it creates a sense of self belief and a self confidence that if you've done it, in your training, you get a sense of self confidence saying,
Mm.
yeah, I can handle that. And I think that adds a lot to when you're out on the racing day, right? It comes to you naturally. So just want to call that out, and according to what you're just saying, and
Mm.
completely makes
And
sense.
this is nothing unique about me. If you actually see how the top runners train, they are
Yeah,
doing exactly the same thing. Why as a recreation runner we won't do it? I don't get it, right?
yeah,
We often say, oh, we're not elite, we're not Jim Mosley, we're not Eliud Kipchoge, but come on, like we can train like them. We don't have to
yeah,
train at their intensity. We have to
yeah,
understand that they're at a different level, but we can take the exact training principle they have and apply to
yes,
us, because we are all human beings, like we're all
yeah,
runners, right?
yeah,
And we can see we actually can benefit way more than them, because better you are, the benefit
yeah,
gets, it's like a law of
yes,
diminishing return, right?
yeah,
Kipchoge is not going to shave off 10 minutes of his marathon time, but we can.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
often we sabotage ourselves. We say we are often stuck in our way. Oh, this is how I'm doing. Or
yeah,
we'll say, oh, that's elite, that's elite people do. Or, oh, that will not work for me. Have you tried? No, right? So it's like we often sell ourselves too low, right? That's why
yeah.
I always tell my friend, like I had I don't want to go too details, but I have a friend who was struggling to finish 100 miles, a very good friend of me. So I told him one thing. I said, hey, you have to tell yourself that when you're running this thing, quitting is not an option. Like when you're in pain, when you're in trouble, think about 4 things you can do to get out of that.
Mm,
Maybe you need to drink water, maybe you need to drink food, or you need to take a break, or you need to, change something, your strides or whatever. But there's no fifth option. There is no quitting option. Don't ever give
mm,
yourself the quit option. And now he has finished 200 miles, and he was telling me that one thing really changed him.
mm,
Now he doesn't give himself. He always used to give himself, oh, I'm in pain. Should I quit? So that always the one of the option he used to give himself.
right.
Now that he does not give himself the option, he does the other things, and the problem just goes away.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's like
yeah.
the
Well,
problem solving and the belief, what you're saying. Like once we
yeah,
have the belief, we can do a lot more than we think we're
yeah,
capable of. And that's
yeah,
that's for me, that's the goal. Like in the ultra running, it's really the self-discovery, self-exploration. Means
yeah.
even in beyond mountain, what I have got from mountain running, I'm getting way more from ultra running.
Mm,
Is this sense of finding myself
mhm,
to the extreme end of my limit and learning about myself, what I can do, and
yeah,
then with that wisdom, I'm kind of trying to reach beyond that. So that's really, I think a lot of alternatives will tell you the same thing. The
yeah,
self belief, self exploration, kind of what drives them. And common people, often people who have not run ultra, won't probably fully understand this. I did not before, but now I see it.
yeah, yeah. Well said. Well said. So, what next now for you?
Uh, there's a lot. Like
Mm,
as you can imagine, I dream a lot. Um, Someday, as I already talked about, that I want to go climb 8,000-meter peaks. I don't
yeah.
see that happening in near future. I just don't have time. I have kids. They are in high school, middle school, so I need to wait a few years for that. But that's not going to stop me for doing from other things, other
Mhm,
goals that I have. I want to run a 3-hour marathon. I
yeah.
signed up for a 200-mile race, Bigfoot.
Hmm.
That happens in Washington in my backyard actually. So I'm going to do that. I like to go run, Western State, UTMB when I when they let me in. I don't know when, but there's so many
Yeah.
other challenging hunts. I want to do harder and harder races. So that's my thing. Like or I want to complete a ultra in 24 hours, things like that. But at the same time, I get messages every other week, maybe from some friend, someone I know in Facebook, maybe Instagram. They are inspired by me, right? They
Hmm.
like what they're doing, what I'm doing. They want to start. So that I have been thinking a lot lately, that how I can help other,
Hmm.
how I can inspire other, and it doesn't have to be running, right? It can be biking,
Hmm.
it can be other enduring sport, because it's life happens, right? We get old and we think, oh, I'm 40 years old, I'm 50 years old, my good days are behind me now, just retire and count the days, like. But it doesn't have to be that way, right? There are sports like running. You can start, pick it up anytime. You can focus on your fitness any time of your life. There is no shame in it, and
Yeah.
you can be very well. You can do very well if you just be smart, right? Don't overtrain.
Hmm.
Don't injure yourself. So I want to. So that's why I actually recently I took a coaching course, not because I want to be a coach, but
Hmm.
I realized that I'm already a coach because I
Yeah.
I coach myself. So
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm doing things right. But when I was doing the coaching, doing the course, the teacher was talking about how to understand different people's limit, how to understand what
Hmm.
kind of runners they are, and how to help them. And it kind of opened another window in my mind. I said,
Hmm.
yes, right? Not everyone is going to be a 3 hour marathoner or 230
Hmm.
marathoner or even 330 marathoner, right? But everyone can be a runner
Yeah.
and everyone can have a dream. And if I can inspire people, and I'm glad I'm already inspiring some people from the message, but inspiring is one thing and actually helping them is another,
Yeah.
right? So that's why I took the course. I said I don't want to give out advices, novice advices, right?
Yeah.
If someone wants help, I want to help them. So that's another thing I want to do more in the future. Um, Getting connected with local community, helping anyone, like someone wants to be from a couch to 5K, some 5K runners want to run a half marathon, someone want to finish, someone dreaming, can they run a marathon, right? But not
Yeah.
sure about it. I want to be with them, I want to help them to
Yeah.
achieve, or ultra running, right? So that's something that I have. Uh, I have a lot of energy, a lot of passions around that, and
Yeah.
I think I have the, because I'm doing it for so long, right? Mountaineering, and now running. I have that, that calmness. Like to me, is nothing is
Oh
impossible.
yeah.
If
Absolutely.
you if you want something really really hard, you can have it. But a lot of people, I understand, they did not they are not fortunate enough, as you're saying, right?
Yeah.
It's not common to see someone getting started in mountaineering in college, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'm lucky. Like I just got
Yeah.
these opportunities at early stage. I had friends, I had mentor who helped me, who inspired me, and only credit I give to myself is that I have hung on to it, right? I have not
Yeah.
let it go. Like I have, even life happened, I got away from it, but I able to come back. But it would not have happened without my friends, my mentor, all the inspiration. And I want to be a source of inspiration for others as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think you'll make a great coach. You have a lot of depth of experience, which, like you correctly said, wisdom. I think a coach is most valuable when you can bring that wisdom to others. So I'm surely you'll do well. So hey, I think this was a fascinating conversation. We covered a lot of ground in from your journey, and obviously your journey is very rich, and we can go on for another 2 hours, and I'm sure we'll have enough content to talk about. But we're kind of coming to an end of our conversation here for today's podcast. Maybe you'll be back here again with all the stuff you're doing again. So the last part of my conversation is a fun Q&A round that I usually have with my guests. So I have a few fun questions for you if you're ready for
Awesome.
that. Okay. So the first one, which is my favorite question that I ask all my friends, is all my guests is, what is your favorite junk food?
Favorite junk food? Yeah, I think it's a Big Mac. Every time
And
I come from a long run, trail run, I try to find a McDonald's for sure, just to get my hands on that Big Mac. Yeah, I love that thing. It's not very healthy, but you
it's
said
junk
junk
food.
food, so
Yeah,
yeah.
junk food. Yeah, that's a good choice. I have a lot of podcast friends who pick a junk food, which is kind of healthy option, but hey, this is real junk food. That's the way to go. A thank you note to someone.
Who should I send to?
Yeah,
Uh,
anyone.
okay, from a I think ultra running standpoint, I'll say there's one person who we have not talked here about. A person called Gavin Woody, right?
Hmm.
He's a famous ultra runner in Seattle area. Uh, I get to know him because when I was working in a company startup, um, he joined that company as a VP, and I was excited that Gavin is a local legend, right? He
Oh,
won
wow.
Bigfoot. He has been to Barkley Marathon. He's ex-military, and I knew about him, but then I actually get to know him, and I spend a lot of time with him, picking his brain. How do you do it? Like, and this was early days of my ultra running career, and he taught me little nuggets. So initially, like for example, I was thinking, I want to go 100 miler because I think I can do it. And he said, no. Start low, start slow,
Hmm.
50 miler, spend a lot of time on trail. So he kind of gave me some of his perspective and without discouraging me, which is kind of,
Hmm.
that guy has no ego, right?
Awesome.
Being such an accomplished. So yeah, so that I still in touch with him. I reach out to him, and I think that's the person I want to learn more and more from.
All right,
Mhm.
Gavin, that's a thank you note for you. Is there one athlete that you would want to go on a run with, and who would that be, and why? If there is one athlete you have a choice to pick.
I think it should be Scott Jurek.
Ah, love that guy.
Yes, yeah, he's just so not just a great runner, but he's such a philosophical person. If you read his book, you'll know.
Yeah,
He thinks about kind of. I love his thinking, right? He's for
yeah,
running for him is not a competitive sport, though he's
yeah,
very competitive. He won Western States 7 times, right? But I love that guy. Yeah, the way
yeah,
he
yeah.
talks about running, his philosophies of life and running.
And he's vegan.
Yeah. He's vegan
He's
too. Yeah,
he's
yeah, yeah.
vegan. Yeah.
I'm not a vegan, but yeah, I'm actually reading his book inspired me to move. I used to eat a lot of meat. Now I'll
Hmm.
say 80% is plant-based what I eat, and he actually inspired me a lot. But yeah, I like to
Hmm.
hang out with him if I can. I have never met him.
So your junk food would turn out to be Big Mac with impossible meat or something like that.
Probably it has to be an Impossible Burger if I go out with him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I actually had a chance to meet with Scott once. I think one of the marathons I ran. I met him in person. He was there. I got a chance to take a picture with him. And in person, I just felt, he was one of those people that uh, who had a glow, had a glow
Hmm.
about, there's some people who have a certain glow about them. And he was that kind of a person. That's what I felt when I met him.
You
Amazing.
know, you know what he used to do. He generally used to win the races, right? But he would never leave the finish line. He will sit there with his sleeping bag and he will wait until the last person finishes that, which can be for him. He has to wait probably another 10, 12 hours.
Hmm.
But
Wow.
he will lie down there and cheer for every single person. So he's not just a runner. He's like a great person. Like that tells you
Yeah.
like. something about him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the last question I have is, if you made a movie of your life, A, what genre would you put it in? And B, who would you like to play your role? Who would you hire?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I
Do
think
you
it has
watch
to be a West.
movies?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I do watch a lot of movie. I watch a lot of science fiction movie. I love my
Mm,
favorite movie is Matrix. But I
wow.
don't think that will be my that will be my movie on my life. But I think it will be somewhat kind of a Western movie. Yeah, probably Kevin Costner. I'll ask Kevin Costner if he can play my role.
Kevin Costner. Script on your way, on its way to you. Yeah, absolutely. And Western, all right. Action packed, huh?
Action packed.
Action packed.
This is what actually I have to say. Like when I was like very young, I went and watched this movie, the good, the bad, and the ugly, like
Hmm.
famous Clint Eastwood movie. And there are a lot of that shot in Utah, all that,
Yeah.
Western world of, and that fascinated me. Like even when I was living in Kolkata, someday I want to go to US and I want to be in those places. Those places looks, out of the world.
Yeah.
And now I go and run, in Utah, in Colorado, I ran Bryce Canyon 100. I was running through that canyon and I was thinking of that movie. I said, wow,
Mm,
my childhood dream. Now, look at me now. I'm running
yeah.
through the, hoodoos and Bryce Canyon. I feel like I'm Clint Eastwood.
Lovely.
It's amazing
Lovely.
how much life gives you, right?
Yeah.
If you want to take it, if you're brave
Yeah.
enough, you say, bring it on. And more
Yeah.
you take on and more life keeps giving, right? So,
Yeah.
but we just
Yeah.
need to be ready for it.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
Mm.
Great. Hey, you did well. Learned a few more things about you in the process. Coming to a wrap up here, before we close, I want to give you the last word. Any final message to our audience?
Well, I think I have said a lot, but only one thing if you want to, take away is, never stop dreaming. Never
Mm,
stop dreaming. Never stop exploring. Never think you are out because I have been in those dark places, right? As I
mm,
talking about almost died. Like I felt like my life is coming to an end. Uh, I may or may not be able to walk again. That's what I felt when that helicopter was picking me up. I did not know how much wrong with me, like what,
yeah.
how many bones I have broken. But I came back from that, and I'm not the only one. There are people who've been even worse, right? Even worse condition, physically, mentally, and endurance sports actually helps you to
Hmm.
bring you back from those lows. Endurance sports is a symbol of life,
Yeah.
right? When you run an ultra 100 miles in a day, it feels like a life you
Hmm.
lived a life in a day, and that's what they do to you. Like they take you to a place from where you can look back at your life, and then you say, oh, now I get it, now I understand it,
Hmm.
like now I know why I felt that day like that. It's
Hmm.
almost like out of body experience.
Yeah.
And so I will encourage everyone that, no matter how old you are, no matter what your experience is, maybe you have not run a single mile all your life, but never give up. Like you
Yeah.
can do it. Like anyone can do it. If you can dream, you can do it. And there will
Yep.
be always people. There will be always people to inspire you, mentor you, help you. You just have to take the first step, and then
Yeah.
you will find people around you. And
Yep.
this it is true for, especially for running, especially
Hmm.
for ultra running. You will see how people are, right? It happened to me. Like my
Hmm.
friends got me into ultra running, and every single runner I have reached out, they have helped me, inspired me,
Hmm.
helped me, and it will happen to you. So just dream, just take the first step, and
Yeah.
and you will see the magic happens.
Beautiful. Arnab, Thanks for sharing yourself. This is my longest podcast, but also enjoyed the conversation. You have a lot to offer, and I think we could have gone on even longer. And so, thank you
Yeah,
for sharing.
we have not talked about skiing, backcountry skiing. There's a lot of things to talk about, man.
Yeah, we need to get you back. Just talk about some of those things we couldn't cover in today's podcast. But hey, continue to inspire us. Continue to live the enriched life that you live. And I'll let you go and enjoy the rest of the evening today, and we shall stay in touch.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Santosh. You are doing a great job. You're bringing all these people to the limelight, and really, I have learned a lot just listening to your podcast. So I'm happy to give something away. Hopefully, this will encourage, inspire some other people too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.